Hello, it's another Filmcast without a cause, coming back after the Thanksgiving vacation that I guess we didn't really take a break. We're still, an episode a week. Patrick Boberg, loyal co-host, did you have a happy Thanksgiving?
Certainly. Plenty of turkey and stuffing and whatnot to go around. Nothing too exciting. Didn't do the Black Friday thing, although I know someone who did.
I did. I had I had good reasons for going out on Black Friday. Walmart had a $50 1 terabyte drive that I really needed. And I bought some movies. Maybe I'll talk about those later.
Huh?
I don't know. But and I didn't introduce myself. In case you don't know, as you should know, I'm Jacob Rosdale. And one thing I'm not thankful for during the holiday season is that they don't really release movie news over the holidays or close to the holidays, unless it's bad news. Unless they're trying to hope something gets swept under the rug or that no one notices. Chevy Chase getting fired from Community Story. That's television, so we're not going to be talking about. But yeah, it's a rather slow news period, I think, because of Thanksgiving. But we usually start off our show talking about the news, and this week is not going to be any different. We just had to dig a little deeper. It's not the end of the year yet. There's still one more month to go. But that didn't stop Forbes from earlier this month announcing releasing their list of the 2012 flops. They called them the turkeys of 2012. Pat, I sent you this link. Did you get a chance to look at these films?
Yeah, there was, if we just want to go out and list them down, there's like the Oogie Loves and Wanderlust and People Like Us and a couple others that I hadn't really heard of. I guess maybe Cloud Atlas might be considered a flop, but they say they don't count it because it's still in theaters, so there's a chance it could make some huge chunk of cash, I guess.
Now, before you looked at this list, if I was to ask you what the biggest flop of 2012 was, movie flop, talking financial failure, what would you have said?
Ooh, I don't know, maybe Dread.
You would have guessed it. Well, I think a lot of people assume John Carter was this big flop, as well as Battleship, the two Taylor Kitsch films that I think are both being considered potential career killers for him. But I think other people did ask about this on the Forbes list, and apparently John Carter globally earned more than its production budget. It will lose. I think the writer did write in the comment section that it will still lose Disney tons of money, but she was looking at the percent of production budget earned back at the box office. So she wasn't factoring in promotion when doing this, or certainly the amount of press, because I think John Carter is going to have the stink of failure on it, even though I certainly liked that film.
I think if you're at least making back your production budget, that's something to say, or at least compared to, being way, way below. Like Dread is, what was it, $50 million? It only made like 15 or something, so that's considerably far below. Shake Your Head far below.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Forbes list, which we will put on our website, has an advertisement to begin with. I just opened it up, as you could probably hear, but it's in one of those really annoying slideshow formats.
Oh, I hate it. Yeah, you can't see a written out list.
So unfortunately, yeah, you'll have to go through that to look. But it is interesting because films that I wouldn't consider. I didn't realize Premium Rush lost as much money as it did. I think it was number 9 on the list, and I have to click through half a dozen other films to get to it.
Yeah, but when you see that, all these films, for the most part, none of them are giant production budgets like, say, John Carter was of $250 million. But I guess still being below, in the red as far as budget is concerned. I guess that's bad to say, but I think you'd take the loss of Premium Rush over the loss of John Carter any day.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, let me see. It only made back 83% of its production budget, which... that's most of it. Looking at a film like People Like Us, which was such a small movie that I would not believe that it would end up on a list like this.
Yeah, and also you have to think that if they went the Hellboy route, Premium Rush might have a really good chance of making it back up in DVD rentals or sales or online downloads. So it seems too early to even say, even if it's not in theaters, there's a good chance it could bolster its bank after it's in people's hands at home.
Premium Rush, Dread, and Wanderlust were the only ones I'd seen. Wanderlust is probably the best of the movies on the Forbes list, I will say.
Oh.
If you're a fan of those state guys, those state people, it's definitely worth checking out. It's depressing to talk about what movies didn't make money, so let's just look towards the future. More and more, I think, the way information is getting to filmgoers like you and I, Pat, is more and more coming directly from the source by directors, from sources like Twitter, or I don't think I follow any filmmakers on Facebook, but you know where I'm going with this,
Absolutely.
right?
It kind of goes around the normal mediums of, say, Entertainment Tonight or something like that used to have like the stranglehold on information in the 90s. Now you can find out anything about the film you want to see years before it's even in production.
And I bring this up because a filmmaker who I didn't even really follow before we started following him on the Filmcast Without a Cause Twitter feed, Joe Carnahan, he was rumored to be attached to this film Nemesis, which is a comic book adaptation written by Mark Millar. But I don't think there had ever been an official announcement. And then on November 20th, Joe Carnahan, which is at Carno Joe, just tweeted, "My brother and I have begun Nemesis. The script is going to be a beast." And assuming he's not talking about a remake of the 9th Star Trek movie, it's safe to say that he is. This is the first official announcement, other than from Mark Millar, who talks a big game but isn't always on the money. Kind of just announced, "Hey, I am going to write this movie with my brother," and the assumption is he is the director because that's what Millar went out and said.
If you want to know what the deal is with Nemesis, for people who don't know, right around the time of The Dark Knight, there was this picture that came out of someone who's basically in a white Batman outfit, but with blood all over their face. And the idea is that Nemesis is, what if Bruce Wayne, the billionaire, decided to be a bad guy instead of a good guy? And Nemesis is just this one crazy billionaire, evil person who's taking his time just toying with this cop and ruining his life and threatening to. It's been a while since I've read it. He wants to blow up some city or something, but the twists and turns that it takes are truly Millar's craziest. He's known for taking insane left curves in all of his comics, but I don't want to spoil anything because every single issue you could spoil. It's just to say that there are some scenes and explosions that if they pull them off in film, it'll make the action in Wanted look like child's play.
You did a much better job explaining the concept than me, and I'm glad you mentioned The Dark Knight, because in the tweet that Carnahan sent out on November 21st, he said, and I'm going to read it verbatim, "With Nemesis, Matt and I are gunning for the Dark Knight trilogy, with the thought that if you're going after the world record holder, what's the point?" First off, I don't quite understand that tweet, but
if you're going after or if you're not going after.
It said if you're going after, but I think he must have meant if you're not going after the world record holder. But world record holder in what necessarily? Awesomeness in superhero movies? I don't think Guinness actually responds to that. But at least if the intent of the tweet is what I think it is, and he mistweeted, forgot a not, because it's hard to get all your thoughts in on Twitter. You're limited to those characters. At least it shows that he has big ambition for it. And the last Nemesis tweet I saw was on November 23rd. He tweeted, "Maybe my brother and at Mr. Mark Millar can do a podcast or go on at Matt Aaron show before the new year and talk Nemesis with the fans." Well, maybe that podcast should be Filmcast Without a Cause, Pat. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll just put it out there and send a tweet to Mr. Millar, who I follow and read his tweets every day. But we can cross our fingers and hope. Mark Millar has got to be the hottest name in comic book movies right now because everything he's made is currently in production.
Yeah, I think he's got a real knack for making concepts that are irresistible to want to adapt into film. Even if the actual execution in the book or in the film, vary in quality, I think he's a man with some high concept ideas, and the idea of an evil Batman, that's pretty good. That's going to be a movie to keep your eyes on if you're a superhero fan. Transitioning, like I mentioned, it is sort of a slow news week. So, Pat, you thankfully saved us from having to talk about Chevy Chase in Community by bringing this movie to my attention. Set it up for me a little bit.
Okay, well, last year, some people might remember, there was a film that came out called My Week with Marilyn. Well, you have to look forward to another Marilyn Monroe biopic coming out. Andrew Dominik, the director, is making Blonde with Naomi Watts, who's been attached, but it seems like there's some sort of sketchiness. She might be off the film. Anyways, what does it mean if it's a biopic? Well, he's going the traditional route. from a 7-year-old Marilyn Monroe to her death. So it's going to be kind of like Ray, showing just the entire life of this person. But the fun little twist that makes it something I wanted to talk about beyond just Andrew Dominik directing it is that he says it's going to be kind of like a Polanski descent into madness type film. So basically we get to see Marilyn Monroe lose her mind and eventually kill herself, which has been done in a couple TV films, I believe. But I think Andrew Dominik, and I really like Naomi Watts. It could be interesting. And for those who don't know, Andrew Dominik is the director of Killing Them Softly, which is about to come out with Brad Pitt as a mob hitman. And his first film was The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, which also had Brad Pitt in it. So assuming that Brad Pitt's in this next movie, maybe he's going to go 3 for 3.
I think he also made a film in Australia called Chopper, which was kind of Eric Bana's breakout film. But that doesn't dismiss it that just his name attached to this is probably the only reason I'm interested in a Marilyn Monroe biopic. I did not see My Week with Marilyn, but I like Naomi Watts, so I don't know. This is something to keep your eyes on. I hope she stays attached, because I guess there's an image out there of her dolled up as Marilyn Monroe for a camera test from when this was going to happen in 2010, and I think Killing Them Softly came in or something, and or maybe they wanted to get some distance from My Weekend with Marilyn or My Week with Marilyn, which is probably a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely going to look really cool and have some interesting pacing, just knowing the films that Andrew Dominik's made. Well, not knowing the films, because he's only really made one that I've seen. But he's got a definite visual style and lets the camera linger sometimes. I think it could be different, and considering it's a Marilyn Monroe, something that, she's probably a cornerstone of the, zeitgeist when it comes to supermodels and actresses and everything. She was probably a supermodel before that term even existed. But
yeah, for sure.
If we know anything from biopics, there's a good chance that if you have a major star and a major director who's pretty hot, there's a good chance they're going to be in some sort of awards buzz come this time next year or 2 years from now, whenever it comes out.
Since you said the magic word awards, maybe we should segue into our feature review, which has gotten quite a bit of awards buzz. That would be, wait, what's that, John Travolta? Because that's where I'm going to put in the pie thing. Should I do that better?
No, that's fine.
I'm trying to figure out how to get that John Travolta sound in there. Time to get to our feature review of the week, which is, wait a minute, what's that, John Travolta?
Dorothy, sing your song about pie.
Pie, pie, me oh my, nothing tastes sweet, wet, salty and dry. All this one so well as pie. Apple, pumpkin, mint and my bottom. I come to your place every day if you got 'em. Pie, me oh my, I love pie.
All right. Not that kind of pie. Oh my gosh, this is so corny. We're going to review Ang Lee's Life of Pi.
I was born and raised in one of the most beautiful places on earth. It was a time filled with wonder that I'll always remember. But when my family chose to move our zoo halfway around the world, that is when my greatest journey began.
After the freighter that was carrying his family and their zoo animals sinks into the Pacific Ocean, an Indian teenager finds himself stranded at sea with a Bengal tiger in the fantasy drama Life of Pi.
The next part of the story you will find hard to believe.
Life of Pi is adapted from the popular 2001 novel of the same name written by Jan Martel. It became one of those books that was instantly dubbed unfilmable, mainly because of the fact that the bulk of the book takes place on the ocean in a small boat with a hungry tiger. Of course, the popularity of the book made even this unfilmable novel irresistible to Hollywood. See also the recent Cloud Atlas and the upcoming FWOAC adaptation on the road. Fox has been trying to get this film made since 2003, with M. Night Shyamalan, Alfonso Cuarón, and Jean-Pierre Jeunet all at one point hired for the directing job. Ultimately, the job went to Oscar winner Ang Lee in this current 3D CGI-heavy adaptation. Now, I know I haven't read the book, Pat. Am I right in assuming the same with you?
No, I have not.
All right. In any case, based on the movie we saw this week, should this spiritual, surreal story have stayed solely on the page, or was this cinematic effort worthwhile?
Well, I'm absolutely saying it's worth bringing to the screen. It's just all the implausibilities of the film with a real-life tiger on a boat aside. I thought the story was too heartbreaking and just different to pass up. The first 20 minutes are pretty much a mopey Cameron Crowe film set in India, but everything that happens afterwards is pretty much outstanding filmmaking and storytelling, in my opinion. I don't think I could stomach an M. Night Shyamalan or Jean-Pierre Jeunet version of it. Maybe Alfonso Cuarón, but I think Ang Lee pulled off something completely memorable and different, way different.
It's so strange because I was thinking that this may be Ang Lee's most accessible film, but and that's saying something considering the guy has made a comic book superhero movie, but he's kind of made extra efforts to make this film digestible to a large audience. And actually, those are the problems I have with the film. Are the parts where it makes it feel like, and this might be a problem with the book, again, I have not read it, but there's a frame story around the meat of the movie, which is the boy pie and the tiger. And the tiger and the boy and the boat stuff, I think is great. I think I was so enchanted by that. Probably some of the my favorite stuff I've seen all year. But the frame story that surrounds it, you mentioned Cameron Crowe. It struck me as kind of a film I like, but it reminded me a lot in tone of Tim Burton's Big Fish.
Yes, where somebody is narrating their life story.
Yes, exactly. And you're like, oh, that doesn't sound believable. And then the guy he's telling it to is, doubting it. And by the end, he may be warming to it or choosing to believe it. But what it does is it reduces any peril that happens on the boat because, one, we know he survives. And two, it spells out all of the themes, and which would get into spoiler territory, or any potential strengths the story had as an allegory gets totally spelled out on the wall. And maybe the book is that overt about it too, but it kind of has a twist ending that
it kind of falls short just a little bit.
Yeah,
with the twist.
I think the performance is great at that point in the film. Not that we're going to be talking around it, obviously, but I don't know how the film could exist maybe without the frame story, because it kind of establishes Pie's belief system and why he makes some of the choices he does. I would wonder how it would play without this over-explaining, if it was just that meaty middle, which I loved, by the way. I don't want to diminish the good part, especially. Pat, did you see this in 3D?
Yes, I did.
Were you as won over by the 3D as I was? Or?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I would say it's probably one of the most visually amazing 3D films I've seen. I didn't see Hugo last year. I know that really won you over.
Yes, it did.
But I think this film is the visuals are kind of so cool, and not in like an Avatar way where it's like everything's neon and fluorescent. I mean, did you feel at any point that going into it or watching it where you said, wow, that tiger looks so real? Because at no point I never even considered it not a real tiger.
I admired the artistry, and I knew it was not a real tiger because the real tiger would eat the boy. But I was constantly won over of how realistic the tiger was. So I can't say that it totally fooled me. But and just the little behaviors, being a cat person. Just it behaves like a house cat, or what. I haven't spent a lot of time around tigers, but I've spent time around cats, and that's really what won me over. And that a lot of that is in the writing and the directing too. Besides the animation, just how the tiger reacts with the child, the young boy Pie, and it's kind of indifferent to him. I guess that's why you don't see a lot of boy and his cat movies, because cats don't care about people. And that's actually a plot point in Life of Pi. They talked about it a lot this summer. People would say how a movie is like a religious experience, or it's your place of worship or whatever. I think they said it a lot after what happened with The Dark Knight Rises and the shooting. But no more this year than in the middle of the movie did I actually feel a spiritual connection with film. Much more so in the kind of cosmic light show type portions than any part where they were actively talking about spirituality. Because when they did that, I think they made it became simplistic, and it was kind of this greeting card philosophy.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. It feels like. In retrospect, I think some people might have an issue because it doesn't generally deal with spirituality that I think most of the America would subscribe to, where he doesn't really have any sort of themes around like a messiah or any sort of dogma that you can follow. And then even in the way that he eventually talks about the story of what's going on and how can someone believe this, and even the people that he had to report to eventually about what happened on the sinking boat, no one seems to believe him. So as much as it talks about religion and everything, there also is something to do there with setting yourself in an impossible thing, which is almost kind of what all religions are based on, something that's completely impossible, but yet that's where faith comes from.
I didn't write down the lead actor's name in this, but I know he's an unknown, so it won't mean anything to anybody listening to this anyway.
The teenager on the boat?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was his first time in a feature film.
I think they did this wide casting net. I think I heard on NPR that he came in with a friend and then got the job, which always reminds me of the Fallout Boy episode of The Simpsons, and I can imagine the fallout it had on their friendship. But he's asked to do, for being a non-actor or a first-time actor, he's asked a lot. I mean, it's a very physical role, and we mentioned the end, the last third. We can't obviously spoil, but he gives a monologue that is very impressive. Even if I had seen this guy in a dozen films before, I'd be impressed. So I bet he'll get lost in any awards talk, but I wanted to give the guy whose name I'm not bothering to look up a shout out.
Well, I think one interesting thing about this, when you can kind of compare it to other, like Lost on a desert island or something, like maybe Castaway, where there's so many things in that movie where, you know, people are used to being manipulated. And it didn't really seem, especially in the third act or in the first or third act, there was much manipulation going on. It was very cold and realistic, whereas there wasn't the sound of swelling music. You don't have Tom Hanks crying with a glass talking about how he lost his wife or the love of his life, and he just has to keep living. You know, it's just matter of fact. This is how it's going, and it almost seems like maybe it could have used a little bit, you know, to reel you in, as opposed to being just forcefully blunt. Where, you know, if I were to talk with you person to person, I wouldn't talk in shades of gray unless I was a politician and we were on the air. Yeah. But if you're sitting down with someone, you're just going to tell them the straight news, you know, give them all the juice and say, here's the theme, here's what I was worried about, which is kind of a detriment to a film.
Yeah, I think why the middle works so well is it turns the narrative, it goes back to it occasionally, but the frame story is basically Pi as an adult talking to this reporter or this writer or whatever, and the middle is what is in Pi's journal that he's keeping while out at sea. And I don't know what format the book takes, but I think the stuff that's written in the moment, in the immediate now, as opposed to looking back and being kind of, I don't know, nostalgic about it, which I do think it does fairly well. I think the performances are good throughout the film, but I think that's one reason the middle worked for me so much better, was the immediacy and the present tense of it all.
Mm-hmm. So who would you say should see this film, and should they see it in the theater?
Oh, definitely the theater. Yeah, no doubt about that. Especially, and in 3D. I can't stress the craft that goes into the 3D in this film enough. You know, this is a film I would recommend to probably not little children, but if you were looking for a film to go to in I guess Thanksgiving is over, but I would hope a lot of families went to this one. At least, you know, teenagers and up. This is a film I would recommend to my grandmother, because it's clean, it's a PG film, and even though it talks about other religions, it incorporates, I mean, it's in that accessibility I was talking about, which I think kind of weakens the film, probably would be a strength if you're recommending it to a broad audience. How about you, Pat?
Oh, I think so completely. And if anything, I would almost say it should, people who have a dogmatic or stringently dogmatic to whatever their beliefs are, it might help them or help people see beyond their, you know, their beliefs, and see things can be, you know, spiritual or, you know, enticing or engaging without being completely struck within, you know, a certain faith system, which is interesting because this guy believes in 4 different faiths.
If you're a total atheist, maybe you would hate this film. So if you're a total atheist, maybe skip it. If you're at least agnostic, I'd say check it out. Or if you're really high, check it out. It's for everyone. But Life of Pi is rated PG for emotional, thematic content throughout and some scary action sequences and peril. When we come back, we're going to talk about our favorite animals in movies and see if Life of Pi's Richard Parker makes the list. New on DVD this week, this is the week of November 27th, closing out the month, The Apparition, which was one of those horror films. Late summer, there was a bunch of horror films with pretty much the same name that came out, the Possession and The Apparition. This is the one with the girl, the hot one from Twilight. I can't remember her name.
Ashley Greene?
Ashley Greene, yes, exactly. And Sebastian Stan, Bucky from Captain America's in this. It had a really scary shot in the trailer where some hands were in a person's mouth. But I don't think I'll be checking that one out.
No, I'll pass.
The Day, which is a film I included on here because I remember hearing about this a couple of years ago and thinking it sounded interesting. It's a Canadian post-apocalypse movie with Sean Ashmore, the guy who played Iceman in the X-Men movies, and Dominic Monaghan and Shannon Sossamon. But apparently, I didn't watch anything about it until today when I looked at the trailer. I guess WWE Films put it out, and it looks pretty bad. So I don't know. I guess I read about it on IO9, and they can be a little hyperbolic when they talk about how great things are. But the WWE trailer, anyway.
What was that Denzel Washington movie that came out a couple years ago that I ruined for you?
Book of Eli.
About a post-apocalyptic man.
Yep, Book of Eli. You spoiled the ending for me.
I'm sorry.
Even though you hadn't seen it.
Is it kind of like a low-rent version of Book of Eli?
It looks like the road with more guns actually going off. It looks so gritty and not fun. It looks like the anti-fun. Like they tried to add fun to the road. Also coming out, a film we reviewed, Lawless, which I liked quite a bit more than you.
That's true.
But would you say Blu-ray or DVD is the place to check it out, or still skip it?
I wouldn't put it at the top of my list, but I'd say eventually check it out.
Well, a film I'm really anxious to check out is Paranorman. I missed it when it came out just a few months ago, actually, a couple months ago.
Yeah, barely just came out.
Yeah, closed window on that. I guess they want to get it out by Christmas, but a lot of positive buzz for this little horror comedy stop-motion animation. And I also wanted to include here Luck, the complete first season.
Well, this is the show that got canceled because of it dealt with a horse, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's set at a racetrack, and Michael Mann is one of the producers on that, big-time film director. Someone who worked on Deadwood. The name is escaping me at the moment, but if it comes to my local library, I will definitely check out Luck, the complete first season. Though it's always hard to get into something when you know it didn't, end strongly, or it kind of had to end because it got canceled or it killed a bunch of horses. Pat, did you find any time to watch movies?
Not so much. I finished up right before Thanksgiving watching The Conversation, the Francis Ford Coppola film that one of the few John Cazale movies.
Yes.
Starring Gene Hackman as like a sleuth, not a spy, but just somebody who just surreptitiously records people's conversations for spies. But never seen it before, and apparently it is Francis Ford Coppola's favorite films of all the films he's made, and it was interesting. And it's Harrison Ford actually plays a part in it. I had no idea he was in it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that movie. That's actually the film I had to talk about to get my TA job coming up next year.
What do you know?
I had to give a speech about The Conversation, so listeners will hear a lot more about my TA adventures in the months to come.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to drop that in there because I'm still following the Before My Time film craze. And I also watched Bernie after finally caving to it because it's free and streaming right now.
Oh,
so
good.
That is a really good film. And I could see Jack Black get nominated for at least Golden Globes.
Yeah, probably musical or comedy, because that is a role I think perfect for Jack Black. I think that's great casting.
Just like when he was in High Fidelity, and that was like the Jack Black role. Never thought there'd be another one like it. This film, perfect for him.
Yes. I'm glad you got to see that. I am a fan of Bernie. Unfortunately, I was so busy this holiday season, all I did was get to see 20 minutes of 21 Jump Street on Stars.
The same 20 minutes you saw in the theater?
No, actually, it's so funny. It was probably the next 20 minutes. But
okay, good.
I have seen the entire film. But it actually, I did want to mention it, though, because it strengthened my recommendation of the film. It holds up to the cable test, which is if you come across it on cable, you can stop and watch it and laugh, even though you've seen it before. So I think that's a film that's going to have a long shelf life ahead of it. It is a funny movie. I think the cult for it is going to grow. Earlier we talked about Life of Pi, a movie that is very animal heavy. Mostly CGI animals, though. I don't know how many CGI animals or real-life animals are going to make it onto your list, Pat. But we wanted to talk about our favorite animals, creatures in cinema. Our dog stars, if you will, and cat stars, bear stars. Pat, you helped me a lot by coming up with the categories on this list, so I'm going to let you go first and talk about your favorite animal in an animated film.
Well, the interesting thing about animated films with animals is you could pick one, but why would you do that when, like, basically Disney has an entire world of films that are strictly animal based? And I remember when I was a kid how much I absolutely loved the animated Robin Hood. I'm assuming you've seen it, Jacob?
Of course, it's my brother's favorite Disney film as well.
Oh, yeah. Man, I've probably seen it 100 times, probably too many, but I've at least seen it 30 or 50 when I was a kid, just over and over. And there's some just really fun moments on it, and there's great dramatic, animated, silly chase scenes. And I am constantly whistling the song that the rooster's playing at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And the crocodile henchmen are probably my favorite henchmen of all time.
Okay. If you had to pick one character, though, who is the star of Robin Hood for you?
Maybe Friar Tuck.
Friar Tuck?
That's a real Eeyore style character to pick, but he was just funny.
What is he? He's not a bear. Is he a badger?
He's like, oh man, it's been too long. He's like a mole or something.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, animated, as you mentioned, there are so many possibilities. This was the hardest one for me, probably. And I debated going highbrow and picking someone from a Miyazaki film, and I didn't know what kind of animal Totoro was. I tried to be obscure and adult and maybe do Fritz the cat, or be counterculture and do Don Bluth and say Fievel, or
did you go Ponyo?
Or Ponyo. He's a fish, I guess. But I also went with a Disney film. And I went with a Disney film with a lot of animals, and the first thing that came to my mind was The Jungle Book.
Ah, yes.
And if I had to pick one, I will go with Baloo, the bear who taught Mowgli all about the bare necessities. Who I'm so glad you said Robin Hood, because Baloo was voiced by Phil Harris, who also voiced Little John in Robin Hood. He really cornered the bear market, I think, in Disney.
He was also,
film.
Didn't he do the Baloo as well in Tailspin, the animated series?
You know, I don't know if he was alive long enough. I didn't look at his full filmography, but Tailspin was probably my least favorite of those Disney afternoon animated series. I never cared for Tailspin.
Hey, but it had Launchpad in it too.
It did have Launchpad, but so did Darkwing Duck, which was a lot more enjoyable to me.
All right, we're digging way too far in the past. But continuing down this theme, animated, I tried really hard to stick away from animated or CGI animals the rest of the way. So our next category with kid films, like I almost thought about going with Neverending Story or Labyrinth. Those are puppets. Oh. But I had to go with one of the films. We talked about films that made us cry, maybe in our second episode of FWOAC, but I had to go with Homeward Bound. I remember being a kid and crying in the theater.
See, and I definitely thought about Homeward Bound, but it had been so long that I couldn't remember anything about it, so I didn't want to include it.
See, that was the thing, is that these lists aren't necessarily the best kids films. That's featuring true. Animals or the best animated films. These are, to me, our choices are more nostalgia based. Like, what do you personally find is your favorite kid film featuring an animal? So it's like, man, I have such good memories of seeing that movie and crying at the end with, I just love the name of the dog was Chance, and it was his last chance. Like, the people who owned him knew that, but the gruff golden retriever who had enough of, didn't want to take any chances on Chance.
The Homeward Bound being a remake, actually. I remember seeing The Incredible Journey first, and it's basically the same movie but without the voiceovers. I don't know if it's the actual same movie. I think they reshot everything, but it also has a drowning cat sequence. That's all I remember from it.
You probably can't watch it then.
Probably. It would make me sad. But I struggled with kids' film because animated it's so wide, and I wanted to pick something good, and I didn't know if the Muppets qualified. I disqualified them. Otherwise, I'd say Kermit or Ralph. But I'll be boring and say Babe. I think that's a very good animate.
You can't say anything against Babe.
No, it's good. I still have not seen Babe Pig in the City, which I hear is excellent as well. I remember that being Gene Siskel's best film of 1998.
What a film to go out on.
I'll start off with comedy. And when I told my wife we were driving back from our Thanksgiving vacation, I was trying to have her help me brainstorm with a favorite comedy film, because I was really drawing a blank. She suggested Beethoven. So that's where she's falling on this. I hope I didn't steal your thunder. Is it good?
No, but I remember watching that in 4th grade on a day where we didn't have anything to do.
But it was not one I'm crazy about. So I was like, well, I like Ted from this summer, but he's really kind of more of a toy than an animal. And I thought about Best in Show. But
Yeah.
but the problem with Best in Show is the dogs are the least funny. I guess we're not saying funniest animals or whatever, but it's really they're just tools to project the
Craziness of the people.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But if I had to go with a favorite, I guess it would be Beatrice, who is the Shih Tzu who belongs to Parker Posey. That couple when they're looking for Busy Bee, and that's my favorite sequence in Best in Show.
Wasn't their dog a greyhound, and the Shih Tzu was Christopher Guest's dog?
See, I thought he had the greyhound because they all kind of look like.
Maybe
whatever,
I
think you have turned around.
Yes, that scene was hilarious. Where's Busy Bee?
Where's Busy Bee?
Goodness.
Okay, well, who's your favorite comedy animal movie?
This
character?
was the hardest one for me because I can't really think of a film that centers around an animal. I couldn't really think of one. And then, I was just kind of combing the internet as one tends to do when you do these things. And I remember being a kid, and this isn't by far a very good movie in any sort of means, but it might be Tom Hanks's, loudest performance. But if you know where I'm going from that, Turner and Hooch might be my favorite dog-centered or animal-centered movie for a comedy. And if you think about it, if you've seen it, because it's on YouTube for free entirely, there is actually quite a bit of good acting around this dog. Generally, whenever you have an animal in a film, the acting kind of suffers because they take so long to get these animals to do what they need them to do. And Hooch actually pulls it off pretty well. And Tom Hanks, who's one of everybody's favorite actors, is pretty self-effacing. The only bad thing about Tom Hanks in this movie is he is yelling nonstop, and he is in black tight underwear about a third of the film.
It's been so long. You didn't encourage me to revisit it from the base.
Yeah, I wouldn't say anybody should see it, but that was one of the few comedic films that didn't have an animated animal in it that I was drawn to.
I also want to give a shout out to the bird from Dumb and Dumber, because
Petey?
Petey, because I laugh anytime I think about that sequence with the bird. But,
well, I'll push us on then.
Sure.
For drama, this is probably our last film category, and there was no way around it. I was thinking White Fang or The Bear, two movies I remember from being a kid that were
The Bear.
Truly dramatic and interesting. And The Bear is almost like a documentary featuring Bart the Bear. But I had to go, and this breaks the rules. I had to go Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah. I guess dinosaurs are kind of animals.
Yeah, well, it's hard to pick which is your favorite dinosaur from the film, but just that T-Rex attack, that kind of sets up the whole movie, and then the end where he comes in and gets the Velociraptor. Sorry to spoil Jurassic Park for anybody out there, but those two scenes alone, it's like, yes, T-Rex, Spielberg, you did it. What everybody needed you to do, and make the T-Rex the hero.
When I saw Life of Pi, I don't know if you had it, but the 3D re-release of Jurassic Park, there was a trailer attached to it.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And I got choked up. I never realized how much that movie had meant to me. Seeing it, or at least scenes from it on the big screen. I might be tempted, even if I have to see it in 3D, to go see that when it comes back into the theater early next year. But that's a tangent. I also love Jurassic Park. I'll forgive you cheating in that respect.
I'm sorry.
You could have said the mosquito, and it would be less of a cheat. The mosquito in the amber.
Oh, come on.
But mine is slightly less of a cheat, but still kind of a cheat. It was hard for me not to pick All Chimps for the drama category. I was actually surprised you didn't shout out Every Which Way You Can or Every Which Way But Loose.
As much as I love Clint Eastwood directed films
for comedies.
I've only seen that once.
But I'm going to go with the duo of Cornelius and Zira, Dr. Cornelius and Dr. Zira, from the original Planet of the Apes and Escape from the Planet of the Apes. The Roddy McDowall Cornelius is probably... I love the Planet of the Apes movies. It's probably my favorite film franchise. And Dr. Cornelius is probably my favorite character from that. And, of course, it was hard for me not to say King Kong. So,
well, if we're pushing on to television, can I guess that your favorite television animal might be the Planet of the Apes on The Simpsons with the musical?
No, but I actually did want to say the animals from The Simpsons. It could be its own category. Cause
Yes, that's true. Stampy deserves its own podcast.
I had Stampy on my list. I had Poochie. I had Poochie before Itchy and Scratchy because Poochie's so much more memorable. And also, there was an episode of Futurama, since I'm going to stick with the Matt Groening, where Fry's dog came back from being cryogenically frozen, and we see that he waited for his master while he was frozen for years and years. And if there was ever an episode of Futurama to make me cry, it was that one. So those are my animated ones. Do you have a different choice?
Oh man, that's a long list. My choice, with a certain level of guilt, is the Duck and the Chick from Friends. I have seen this show backwards and forth. When I started dating my now wife Marita, I got her within the first 6 months we were dating for Christmas. I got her the entire show on DVD. And I hated it before, then I liked it because we watched it all, then I hated it again, and now I respect it. But there's just too many good Chandler jokes and Joey jokes involving the duck and the chick to pass up, so they're probably my favorite TV real live animals.
Marcel the monkey was the first thing that came to my mind.
Oh gosh, I hate that storyline, and I hate Ross as a general aside.
But I also would be remiss if we were talking about TV animals and I didn't mention probably my actual favorite would be the masturbating bear from the late night from Conan O'Brien. He has brought me so much joy in my life.
What a perfect choice to go out on, Jacob. Bravo.
Yeah, very much so. But I don't know if we can top that when we wrap up the show. But we're going to try in this next little segment. So keep listening, please. And we're back to talk about what's coming up in theaters November 30th. Killing Them Softly, a film we mentioned earlier, the Andrew Dominik film with Brad Pitt, is coming out. Also, The Collection, which I just saw a TV ad for. I think it's a sequel. A sequel of a film called The Collector, which I also hadn't heard of. But it's by the people who did the later Saw film, so it looks kind of icky. Also, Universal Soldier Day of Reckoning, which was one of my more anticipated films of the holiday season, despite not having seen any of the Universal Soldier movies.
Are you going to go camp out at midnight for it?
I don't even know how wide this opening is. It's probably
they're probably hearing that you're interested, and they're going to show it at your school.
Yeah, that would be great. And also, I only included this because it stars Malcolm McDowell. It's called Silent Night, and it's about a killer Santa Claus. I don't know if it's a remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, but it is about a killer Santa. So if that's your thing, go see Silent Night. And our fingers are crossed that either Anna Karenina or Silver Linings Playbook goes wider this week so we can review one of those, or we'll review Killing Them Softly. Keep tuned to our Twitter feed in order to find out what we will be reviewing. I promise I will announce it as soon as we know. And speaking of said Twitter feed, Pat, what is it?
Our Twitter feed, you can hit us there at Filmcast WOAC. That's Filmcast WOAC, or you can email us through Gmail. It's filmcastwoac@gmail. There's also the website where if you post anything on there, it will make it in the show. That's filmcast.acause.com. And as we've been saying, there is the FWOAC phone, which the number is escaping me at the moment, but it is on our site. Call there. If it's G-rated or PG-rated, it'll make it in the show. And, we know you're listening. We see the numbers coming in of people downloading, so you might as well just give us your 2 cents. Don't worry. We won't laugh unless it's hysterical or it's AJ who calls in. But that's it. Hit us up one way or another.
Use a fake name. I don't know. You do a goofy voice if you're worried about how you're going to sound on the radio. We don't care. And you can tell us what your favorite movie animal was, because I'm sure we missed a bunch of them.
Oh, definitely.
But for now, that's it for this episode of Filmcast Without a Cause. Pat, I want to thank you.
And I thank you, Jacob.
Talk to you later.
That's a wrap.
I'm finished.